of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha Sharda, would like to thank all of you for liking my content and my channels. On that, if you have not subscribed to our channels, the Spotify channel, if you want to listen to all of these videos in audio form or want to watch it as videos, then please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Today, we are going to talk on the placement of the sixth lord in various houses. As we talk about the placement of the sixth lord in various houses, the few factors that we really need to understand. The Karakatvas or the lords or the planets that hold the Karakatvas for the sixth house are Saturn and Mars. Rightly so. Mars provides us with the energy to do work, and Saturn gives us the right way to do work. Saturn also talks about our employees, and Saturn also makes us time bound. All things that encompass the sixth house. So, what does the sixth house encompass? Sixth house talks about Rin, Rog, and Shatru. Rin means the death. Rog means our health status. It could mean very good health status if the sixth lord is very well aspected also and well posited. And Shatru means our enemies or the obstacles that come in our path. Sixth house, primarily in Vedic astrology, is also the house of Prarabdha. Prarabdha means the past karmas that we've got along with us in this lifetime, and we need to work them out. In one of my videos about work, about profession, I have also mentioned that we need to check out the sixth house. Why so? Because this is something that we are going to do. We have to work our way out in life on these issues. And also, the sixth house is very strong in the sense that when we understand where we have to work our prarabdha out, which areas are very important in our life, because we would be working for 6 to 10 to 12 hours a day. So these areas of life really do need our attention. And when the sixth lord is placed in a specific house, that does tell upon where our prarabdha is attached to. For the natural Kalpurush Kundli, Mercury is the lord of the sixth house, and the placement of Mercury is also very important when we want to know about our prarabdha. Mars is the energetic planet. Mars is the planet that helps us overcome our obstacles. So, the placement of Mars will also give us an idea, the clue as to how we can overcome our prarabdha or obstacles that come to us in life. Saturn tells us about Kal or time and the timely intervention of things, doing things in a right and proper manner, helping others along the way, because the sixth house is also the house of service. The sixth house, being an earthy sign, also denotes the money factor in our life through our jobs and profession. So, all these things talk about what the sixth house encompasses. So, as we move along, the placement of the sixth lord. If the sixth lord for you is placed in the Lagna, then this sixth lord can bring about, can tell us that it is our own ideas, our own thought process that can act as an obstruction in our gaining things in life. It could also tell us that it is these very thoughts, when aspected by benefic planets, either in transit or by the natal chart, they give us that much of impetus, they give us that much of flow, so that we can break through the negative thought patterns and achieve something big in life. We become hardworking and we live up to our karmas. Again, if the sixth lord is associated with the Lagna, you could be very health conscious, or you could also be working in the health industry. You could also be very affable or very connected with your employees, and you could definitely be having a strong connect with your maternal side of the family when the sixth lord is in the second house. Now, this is a very strong position for the sixth lord to be in, because as per Bhavat Bhavam concept, or as per the concept of checking out, which is one of the Fal Deepika concepts, which says that if you need to see as to where the placement of a certain planet or lord is from its own house, it's in the ninth house from itself, which is a good placement. And it is also again in one of the monetary houses of your self. So you could be earning a good amount of money through your skills, because the second house is the house of skills. You could also be employed in the family business. Food industry could be one of the areas where you can earn a lot of money from. You could also be working as a teacher and getting your money through it. Your value systems at times can also be impediment in your earning wealth. So not that I'm asking you to compromise, but what I say is that certain things that can act, or your family could not allow you to move out of a certain place to a certain place, thereby causing impediments in your earning. Also, this can also be a factor depending upon the benefic or the malefic influence that you have on that sign. Again, these things will take color from the sign and the planet that is placed in that particular house. So if Jupiter is the sixth lord and it is placed in the second house for you, in such a case, as the sixth lord placed in the second house, this Jupiter can definitely give you very high moral values, and it can make you a good judge, because it can make you fight for things on a very judicial level, or it can give you a knowledge of law that can make you a very good speaker and a judge. When we talk about the sixth lord in the third house, sixth house is the house of discretion, and the third house is the house of valor. You will use your valor with discretion. You are very aware of how you're going to fight a certain case. You will be able to chalk things out very perfectly, so that you make a maximum benefit out of this, because the sixth lord is posited in the third house and a point of advantage from there for your discretion, for your service, for your ability to look out after your wealth. This is the place where you will be honored and you will be given enough work. Sixth house, as I said, is about fighting cases. It is also about the area of your shatrus or your enemies. And the third house is the house of speech. You would know how exactly to hit people through your speech and through your convictions. And when the sixth lord is in the third house, it gives you enough ability to think differently, be creative, to be able to nail people down. It also gives you money through writing, or it can make you work in the publishing industry or in the advertisement industry. When we talk about the sixth lord in the fourth house, your maternal uncles or maternal side of the family can be very, very strongly associated with your own with your mother, can have very strong associations with them, or in your own home you can find a lot of presence of your maternal um, family. Also, it talks about you being very, very strong about the finances that you have, and you would be thinking very hard before spending. You could be spending a lot on your own house, or you could be collecting money to build up a house. You could also be taking out loans from time to time for your own home. As far as diseases are concerned, if the sixth lord is in the fourth house, that time you could find that you could have diseases which are related to the chest, like tuberculosis, etc., or you could also have certain diseases of the kidneys. And your or you could also have diabetes. These kind of diseases can also work, because the sixth lord is in the 11th from 8th. That means, though you might be recognized for your work, though you might be recognized for a lot of mm, hard work that you put in your profession, but as far as health is concerned, there could be serious consequences also. When we talk about the sixth lord in the fifth house, if the sixth lord is in the fifth house, your ability to tackle matters easily, and more of those matters which require great attention, especially about crises and things like that, is very strong. You're hands on in those areas, and you do have the luck to support you. It could also mean that the way of earning for you is definitely the showbiz area, or the area that is that that caters to the social media, nowadays. We could also say things like advertisement, YouTube, all these places. These related industries could be one of the places that you could be working with. The sixth house is talking about competitive exams, and the sixth house talks about getting across in competitive exams, and the fifth house talks about your ability to sit for those exams and process your knowledge. So you will have a very financial kind of a knowledge or a very practical kind of a knowledge, because earthy signs are practical signs. Lot of help from the practical knowledge to process your practical knowledge into some for some competitive exams. And definitely you could be working, or your source of income could be through somebody who's well known. It could Your source of income could also be through speculation, or for that matter working in a big MNC. When we talk about the sixth lord in the sixth house, it is a Vipreet Rajyog of great repute. When the sixth lord is in the sixth house, it is a place where this lord has the ability to uh, give you strong opposition in life, or you might feel that the burden of the entire world actually rests on your shoulders. It could be the truth, but it could also relate or translate as, though you might be having the burden of the world on your shoulders are capable enough to take that burden and then some more. And you will always have the ability to fight or find a way out through that uh, area, provided you are using your discretion to the best of your benefit. Because the sixth house in definite gives us an advantage. It is also one of those upachaya houses which gives us an advantage or gives an ability to know and decide as to how we are going to work. We may be facing certain consequences of past actions which are known as karma or prarabdha, but our ability to work them out is something which is very much given to us. And if we are not able to look into that, then we are set in a trap. Now, when we talk about the sixth lord in the seventh house, the seventh house is the house of partnerships, and the sixth house is one of the separative houses also. It could also mean that you have a very strong prarabdha attached to your partner's professional or personal. And it could also mean that one of the way out of messy situations in your life could be through your partners, or through the people you find in coming across in life, because the seventh house is also the house of path. So very categorically and very esoterically it states that the way out of your prarabdha is through your partners. It could also mean that on a later date, if you are in a service oriented industry, you could be starting something of your own. You could be setting up your own business. It is also meaning that healthcare industry could be one of the sectors which brings you a lot of money, or catering to things like partnership business, lawyers, because the seventh house of the natural zodiac also speaks about law. So these kind of services would also bring you a lot of money. When the eighth lord is in when the sixth lord is in the eighth house, this is the house which brings you lot of your prarabdha into the forefront, and it could be something that you will have to work through all your life, because the eighth house, though it is a Vipreet Rajyog, but you will find it sporadically occurring in your life. For example, if Venus as the sixth lord would be sitting in the eighth house, it would mean that you would have to quietly but systematically in life fight out oppositions, either in form of in-laws or from your siblings spouse, or siblings family, etc. So these things could be very important for you to understand and work on. If the sixth lord is in the eighth house, it could also mean that you could have to fight for your inheritance. You could have to work really hard to get that, but the possibility of getting it is very strong, because the sixth lord again in the eighth house is a Vipreet Raj Yoga. It could also mean that you should be very aware of your health matters, especially if Venus is that lord, because it could mean you would be spending a lot on your health during the time or dasha antardasha of Venus. When we're talking about, say, Jupiter being the sixth lord in the eighth house, it could mean that you would be going deep down into a lot of esoteric studies also, and it could be one of those things that you've bought in your this lifetime, that you need to study and internalize this knowledge before bringing it out in the open arena. So when we move to the planet in the sixth lord in the ninth house, and the sixth lord is in the ninth house, it by default makes you an excellent lawyer. It also gives you the ability to do nyay, or the ability to be very to have the debate, a debating kind of mind frame where you look into the good and the bad at both sides. It also talks about your ability to do justice to many people, and the jurisprudence that we talk about is something that you're born with or probably have to work with throughout your lifetime. The sixth lord in the ninth house also gives you the ability to work as a teacher, as a professor, and it also gives you the ability to be very quick in your actions. As the sixth lord moves into the ninth, sorry, for the sixth lord being in the ninth house, money can also come from discoveries, or money can also come from travel and tourism industry. For you, when we talk about the sixth lord in the 10th house, money is something that comes very straightforward to you, but it could also mean that you will have to have a compromising attitude with your employees, because sixth lord means that your prarabdha is attached with your employers and the employees, and until and unless you show that respect and you bow down to them at many places, you will not be able to attain much in life, at least in your workplace. So compromising situations will definitely arise. When the sixth lord is in the 11th house, you work really hard to fulfill your desires, and what more, you will get the ability to fulfill your desires. Or it can also happen on account of negative influence, that your desires can be so great that at times they can be frustrating, and they can take a toll on your health or your mental frame, depending on if the aspects are good benefic, or if the aspects are malefic in nature. When we talk about the 12th house, when the sixth lord is placed in the 12th house, again it's a Vipreet Rajyoga that comes into faction, and it talks about going abroad for your job prospects. It also talks about a lot of foreign connect. At the same time, it talks about you working in an NGO, or you getting a lot of money from an NGO. It could also mean the person is ambitious in his workplace and wants to climb ladder, which is a possibility, but only after a lot of hard work and turmoil. It also means that if you donate lot in charities, either in hospitals or towards that of care of wild animals or domestic animals, then your health quotient remains very stable and strong. Otherwise, there could be frequent visits to hospitals on your part also. So, let us take up a few examples and see how they work in our charts. When we talk about the sixth lord in the first house, for Laurie King, the sixth lord Venus is placed on the Lagna, Sagittarius Lagna, and as such, he's the one who's had a lot of say in the he who has been in the public sector industry as defined by the sixth house of service, and has made a name for himself as a commentator and as an interviewer. And the Larry King show has been one of the most famous and a long time running show in the industry. Venus is also the lord of money, and being the sixth lord definitely gives him money from his profession, from his career. It is with the fifth lord, which talks about the celebrities, or which talks about the cinema industry, or for that matter, it talks about showbiz. And Moon, the lord of the eighth house, brings about a change and transformation in him because of his career. As I had earlier said, that if the sixth lord is in the second house, it does give you money through, it does give you a lot of money, because the sixth lord is the also a earthy sign. And here in Louis May Alcott's chart, we see that this, though it is Saturn, and so it gave her money at a very late stage, but it did give her consistent money after a certain time. And Louis May Alcott is known for her books even till this date. Saturn for her is sitting in the nakshatra of Sun, which is Uttarashad nakshatra, and gives her the money in the very right manners and at the right time. So it also gave her money and an ability to speak her mind out, because sixth lord is also giving her a very strong convincing powers. And the heroines of her book are known to have a a tongue in their mind. When we talk about the sixth lord in the third house, Giorgio Armani, whose Lagna is Cancer, has his Jupiter, the sixth lord, in Virgo in the third house. Creativity, discretion, and the ability to be very profoundly very creative can be seen, and money through those areas can be very well understood and established. Jupiter gives him an ability to showcase or bring about big people in his shows, which he was the one who introduced that concept of getting celebrities on his shows, to get his work more well known and publicized. When we talk about the sixth lord in the fourth house, here for this lagna of Julia Child, who's a Taurus lagna, her Venus happens to be in the fourth house in the sixth. As we told you that the wherever the sixth lord sits, it talks about the prarabdha associated with that area. Fourth house is also the kitchen, or it's the daily mundane work that we do. And Venus gives it the beauty. Julia Child is known for beautifying her food in a manner that it changed the face of how the cookery shows were established in the TV industry or in the television world. And she brought about a freshness to it with a vigor, because Mars, retrograde Mercury, and Sun, the Lord of the fourth house, are also very strongly sitting there. So, a great deal of prarabdha can be found in her chart relating to home, to cooking, and to showbiz, because here the fifth house of the natural zodiac, the house of showbiz, then big for her becomes the fourth house. Venus for her is sitting in the Magha nakshatra, the nakshatra that makes her responsible for uh, being a great showman, and at the same time making a name for herself in that field. When we talk about the sixth lord in the fifth house, here we see Mars in Lord Tennyson's chart as the sixth lord, because his lagna is the Gemini lagna and placed in the fifth house. Fifth house is a house of creativity. Fifth house is a house of competitiveness. And here he definitely, though he wasn't competitive, but he was lucky in many a ways, because he always, though there are many failures in life for him, mental stress also, he did manage to establish himself and was also knighted at one point. He was also called the poet of the time, and so he was lucky in many ways, and his work was celebrated in uh, England for a long period of time. In fact, till date, he's known as one of the best um, writers ever, one of the best poets ever. When we take the chart of Yehudi Menon, here in his case, we see that the sixth lord, Venus, is in the sixth house itself. So, this, as I told you people earlier, is definitely a chart of Viprit Raj Yog. When the sixth lord is in the sixth house, it's a beautiful place to be. And top it all, it's Venus, because the Lagna here is Sagittarius. This gives a person such a huge amount of talent. And this talent, because Venus also represents fine arts, this talent, because it is also placed in Mriksira Nakshatra, shows his desire, his thirst to understand the kind of service he could do to not just himself but to the world at large through his music. Music again is fine arts, and he definitely was one of the best musicians alive, because it is what he was born to do. That was what his prarabdha was. And when we talk about Carl Lewis with his sixth lord in the seventh house, Jupiter being the lord, and that too retrograde with the seventh lord, he has had many issues with his partners. That is a well known documented fact. And he's had to pay up to his partners. As I told you earlier on, you could be working your prarabdha out through your partners, and you could be learning major lessons of life through them. The Lagna Lord also happens to be in that nakshatra, in that house only, that is the seventh house. So it's the Cancer Lagna, and definitely we see that he definitely had a lot to learn from his partners, and it was a continuous process. For Robert Kennedy, the sixth lord is in the eighth house, the eighth house of sudden activities, eighth house of life going from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 in 1 second. It happened with him many a times. He lost his brother, all of a sudden became responsible for not just his family but many a things of his country and his party also. Life was never a straight line for him, always going on a very wild tangent. It also shows prarabdha through finances of others, definitely so. And it also shows uh, uh, prarabdha in many hidden areas that generally do not find surface on the public front. It shows a person who has shoulders brave enough to carry a lot of things. As we come to the sixth lord in the 12th house, we see in George Clooney's case an international name and fame, albeit after a lot of hard work, a lot of charity is also seen in his case. And as I had said earlier, that if a person does a lot of charity, he stays out of trouble and he also stays out of hospital. So George Clooney probably is on the right track, doing a lot of charity and also working for a lot of NGOs, supporting a lot of causes that is keeping him handsome and healthy for so long. So, do write in to us and say and let us know how this sixth lord in the different houses in your chart has functioned for you, and how what kind of a result it has given to you. Till we meet with you again, stay safe and be happy. Thank you.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.